Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I cannot believe we're here at the end of the inaugural Black Women Creatives in Sports Summit. And we're closing out this summit with two of my favorite people,
Oh,
Taylor Sims, a Maryland-born Washington Commanders photographer whose career has taken her from spontaneous campaign shoots to professional sport arenas, collaborating with the NFL, NWSL, Showtime Boxing, Lululemon, and more. And Taylor has a unique gift for capturing moments that preserve joy, triumph, and authenticity, and the essence of life itself. Joining her is Erica Calhoun, a visionary photographer, creative director, and visual storyteller. Erica blends technical precision with a cinematic eye, creating empowering images across sports, branding, and editorial work. She is the founder of EC Marketing and Media and Camp Vision Productions, and a mother of three. Oh my God.
that alone.
Balancing, listen, there's been a thread of motherhood in this summit today. I did that intentionally, but every time I read it out loud, I'm like, I don't know how you guys do this. Because I'm struggling, it's just me. And she's a mother of three, balancing creativity, leadership, and family while elevating the voices and brands of athletes and creatives. Together, they bring a wealth of insight into storytelling, sports media, entrepreneurship, and navigating the creative world as Black women. We're going to explore not just how they make their art, but how they build their careers, create opportunities, and inspire the next generation of Black women creatives. So, with both of you here, again, thank you so much. I'm so excited to speak to you both. And I want to start at the beginning because everyone has shared at some point like that moment when they realize this is more than just a hobby. Like, this is a calling, this is going to be my career, this is a professional career. Erica, what was that moment for you?
Um, so for me, my father actually was a professional photographer and my mother modeled. So I saw it growing up. And my mom was an entrepreneur as well, like all the way through, never had a 9 to 5. So I was raised in the arts. And then I went to college and played Division 1 basketball. And I actually was offered a modeling contract right out of high school and couldn't take it if I was going to take a college scholarship way back then, way pre NIL. Um, and so once I graduated college, I did pursue professional modeling, but um, what I came across was during that time, the full figure model term was just kind of getting started, and the appreciation of the athletic frame and fashion wasn't there yet. And so it was a battle for that, like being on the New York Week runways and LA Fashion Week runway. And so my goal was to blend the two worlds after a while. Most of the photographers, I didn't care for it. And so I wanted to blend my two passions, and that's what got me going.
Oh, I love that. Taylor, how about you?
Yeah, just origins. Getting started. I picked it up in college, just randomly. Had enough money saved up that I went home one day and I was in college and purchased the first camera, and I started taking photos of my friends on campus, and kind of made a small name for myself there in a middle of nowhere school. Won't go too deep into that. But after using it as a hobby for the longest time, I decided to start getting a little bit more serious. I mean, it was simple as me scrolling on Instagram one day and looking at the Instagram of a local gym that I knew, and I was looking at their photos, and I was like, I think I can do better than that. I was just looking at their photos. I'm like, I saw that they weren't using some things that I thought I could be a little bit better. So I reached out to the owner and sent him an email and said, hey, this is who I am. I'd like to offer my services to you. At the time, he shot me down. And a couple months later, he gave me a call and offered me a position to start taking photos in his gym. So something as simple as me scrolling on Instagram and shooting my shot to this one business, offering services that I didn't have just yet, but I knew that I would be of service to them. never shot sports in my life. But I guess it was God, right, that just instilled that confidence, in me to allow me to reach out and shoot my shot to this business, to get my foot in the door a little bit. So that's pretty much how. That's the short version. But I could take up the whole hour, and I don't want to do that. That's the short version of how I got into sports.
Erica, do you remember your first gig?
I do. Actually, I was coaching at Bishop McNamara High School. I was coaching girls basketball, and we had a lot of players on our team that were Power Four, or it was Power Five back then, players. And I saw that this was during a time where in college, the media days were just starting to ramp up. But our players, we prided ourselves on making sure that they were ready for college on the court. But off the court, they were getting interviewed by the news. They were getting interviewed by everybody. Like they were good, and they just weren't ready. And so I was like, no, we need to get them ready. So let's go ahead and implement the same thing that they'll experience in college, so that they're ready and they understand branding and they understand, how to speak and behave in front of the camera. And so I went right on to Sam's and bought my little bundle deal. Um, and I was on the sidelines and kind of taking pictures and doing graphics at the same time. And actually, in-game photos, I would just rely on whoever I saw on the baselines. But what I was coming across was a lot of the photographers had already had like heavily filtered their pictures. And so that didn't work for graphics. So I was like, nope, let me really dig into lighting and, you know, getting this together, so that they can be represented correctly. And so I just studied and taught myself, and that was my first client, and I eventually ended up getting the whole school.
That is amazing. And I'm glad you talked about both of you actually, because I love when people talk their talk of like, yeah, actually I could do this better. Like Taylor, when you said that, I was like, I know that's right. Erica, I pulled up your site here. It's stunning, stunning work, obviously. I want to talk a little bit about your guys' technique. Um, for you, Erica, how did you define your creative voice and how has it evolved over time?
Um, so I would say my creative voice came from what I wanted, um, again, as an athlete that was modeling. And what I heard in the back of the house of those fashion shows and those shoots. And most people, they just did not understand the beauty in the athletic frame, the muscles, the imperfections, the whatever. um and so that's something that I wanted to highlight. I wanted to maintain the integrity of our skin. I wanted to highlight our differences. I wanted to show that our physique is the standard of beauty. It's right up there with everything else we see in the magazines. We don't have to be covered up in order for it to be considered fashion. So that's really where it's rooted from.
And when capturing these athletes, how do you balance like the action, the emotion, letting their own personality shine through?
So I actually don't like posy. I call it posy posy. I talk to them and I really want them to go. Like I want them to be themselves and what they love about themselves, showcase, those things, those moments. And it depends. This was a different scenario because they were literally coming off the track. Um, so this was a little different, but even still within that, they still had those things that they wanted to do and have fun with. And it's like I'll flow off of them, because I only have them for less than a minute. So it wasn't a whole lot of instruction. It was more like, hey, this is your time to shine. This is your time to showcase your personality. What do you want the world to see? And then they would just go.
And you touched a little bit about how important it is to show us like the beauty of us. Can you also talk to me about your approach to editing so that the richness of like the skin tones are showing, whether they're darker or lighter skin?
Yeah, so these were a little different because, especially trials. Me and Taylor were roommates in trials.
Yes.
so, so it was like that was a 10-day event, and I'll come back with about 1,200 pictures, and they want them the next morning, and then got to turn over and do it again the next day with a whole new set of athletes. So these are actually not heavily edited at all. It's just more um, color correction a little bit, making the light consistent, really highlighting the shadows and highlights, enhancing some colors, but that's about it. Mostly everything you see is how they came off that track.
Wow, that is amazing. Taylor, I'm going to pull up your work right now,
Okay.
where you can answer the same set of questions. How has your creative voice evolved over time? How have you defined it?
Say the last part again.
How have you defined your own creative voice? How has it evolved over time?
Oh man, I think it's evolved with just getting the opportunity to shoot multiple different sports. Like when I started, I think you asked Erica about her first job, her first gig. Mine was for sports was shooting a Muay Thai fight. This event called TCB 20, just shooting combat sports. I never thought that I would have the opportunity to get into football, let alone other parts of track and field, and to be up in the same space as these athletes. I mean, simply shooting local um, people who want to get in shape, people who want to try jujitsu or Muay Thai, or they want to try CrossFit, to shooting Shelly Ann Fraser Price or Gabby Douglas. I mean, I never would have thought I'd have this opportunity, and it's really started by um, people like you having faith in me, giving me opportunity. So thank you as always, and just getting out there and not being afraid to try different things. I mean, prior to the opportunities, when we first met, I had never shot track and field before. I didn't know what the heck I was doing, but I studied it. I looked at other photographers, saw what the vibe was there, and started adding my own spin to it. Seeing what I can do from different angles, how I can put a different treatment on the images. That's something also Erica touched on too, which is very important. When you have darker skin, the editing process is different. The way you capture the photo is different. So yeah, it's been amazing.
How does experimentation, color, motion, and perspective play a role in your work?
Oh, especially when I'm shooting a fast, like the picture you have right there, fast motion like that. I have not even a second to grab a photo like that and freeze that action. So I kind of have to know their moves ahead of time, and that's not always a very easy thing to predict. But it's just important to just be ready. And to already see the image before you capture it, if that makes any type of sense. If I see
Mhm.
him getting ready to lift a leg or even a feint, I know he's gonna do a leg kick like he's doing now, and I've kind of already got that motion in my head. And as far as editing, I wanted these guys to be the main focus. Um, as dark as it looks in the background in that shot, that's the environment that I'm shooting in. It's very low light outside of the ring lights, but I try to keep the tones a little bit more natural, and I like to put my stank on it too, especially if I'm using it for my personal work. It's also important to note when you're working with a client, you keep your style. This is my opinion. I think you should keep your stylized images for yourself, and for the client, something basic, unless they already expect that from you, for sure.
Along the same lines of technique and composition, what is in your gear bag? And like, what are your
Oh,
favorite
yeah.
lenses or focal lengths for capturing both intimate moments or like these high-speed action moments that you're describing?
So it depends on the sport for me. If I'm shooting a high action image, I tend to go a little bit more wide because these athletes sometimes, depending on the sport, is very unpredictable, especially with MMA. If you're shooting tight, a guy can throw a knee or throw a leg or jumping whatever and fly out of your frame, and before you know it, you've missed the shot. miss the action. So I'm one to work with primes, and it's not very popular in combat sports because you should have a telephoto or a zoom lens to where you can go in and out. But I like a 24 millimeter 1.4. I love a 50 1.2, 85 1.4. Those are the ones I stay with. And I recently started adding a 300 millimeter to my arsenal, just because I can get all in someone's face with that one, and you can see their pores, but it just allows you a different perspective, especially if you're shooting cage side, or if you're shooting far away. um, Obviously, you're close up enough with that, but I prefer to stay wide open with primes, especially doing combat sports or any type of fast moving sport.
Ooh, and Erica, I'm going to turn to you. For you, what is in your gear bag?
Wait, Polly, before I'm gonna answer that, but I want to give Taylor a shout out because she
Yes,
she let me shoot Muay Thai. I forgot what you were. I think what was it, Grand Slam or something you had to go to, and so she
Yeah,
let me um go to one of her fights for her. And when I tell you that that is hard.
yeah.
And what she produces, like it seems like it's easy, like and she's right
hmm
about the lighting and how fast they move. And I thought somebody was about to fly over the rope and hit me and blood and sweat and everything. I was like, "Taylor, what is
But you killed it though. For your first time never having shot it, you killed it.
it?"
And
I'm
you did
like,
a super cool video. So
listen, but yes, hats off to you. 'Cause that was hard.
I love that.
But what's in my gear bag? So I shoot with a Canon R6. I do have two bodies. However, I do not like carrying two bodies. And a lot of it comes from because I run socials as well. And so I'm usually one band, one sound by myself when it when it comes to I'm taking a picture, I'm trying to hurry up and edit on the spot, and then I'm trying to hurry up and post. So I don't have time to kind of fool with two bodies. As far as the lenses, like 70 to 200 is the main one. I will have a 24 to 70, and sometimes actually I might have my 16 to 35, depending on where I am. But I'm a prime girl too, so my 85 and same thing I usually will have, especially if I'm doing outdoor track or football, a 300 with me.
Mhm.
Now, some of my favorite photos of yours, Erica, are these quiet moments that you have of these athletes. What is your approach to being able to like capture these moments, but obviously not to distract them, that you ruin, their preparation because these are the moments they are right before they compete, right?
Yep. So for me, and this is a client that so Trials and Prefontaine, again, shout out to you, Polly, because same, I had never actively shot track and field before and even then I really didn't. I was doing portraits, so I still didn't get to do live on the track, but I met a lot of people there. And so Quincy and his coach, of course, were there from Bullis, which is out here in Maryland. And so we connected, and Coach Lee is one of my clients, and I handle all of his branding and his social. And so by way of that, kind of do some things for Quincy as well. And so when we went to USA Champs, it's just a trust thing. And we kind of have those conversations just about him controlling his own narrative. And some of it is me saying like, hey, let me help you out. You like in this age, you really don't need to give anyone else the story. You can tell your own story. And right now, you're fortunate enough to have someone here to, and it don't have to be me, it can be anybody, but you have someone that you can get that content and tell your own story. In those, like you said, those quiet and intimate moments. Um, and so, like I said, I'm usually with the 70 to 200. And I think it was Ali that said this earlier, so I'm not like all in their face. I'm giving them that space, but it depends on the athlete because Quincy is one that he's a kid for real, for real. And so if he's not having fun before the race, then it's something wrong. Like, so he wants to interact and really joke and do those things and really engage with the camera. So it really depends on the athlete. And at that time, you kind of know their personality to know where the boundary is.
No, and then now that you're like documenting his journey on a more personal level, do you approach it like the same way like how you approach like in the sports, like when you're photographing his prom, the photos I showed earlier, and now this, like is it the same approach?
It depends on what it is. It's a little different. So like he also expressed some of the deals that he want to try to pick up. And so in the midst of that, we also try to showcase that a little bit. We want to show that you might can step into fashion or uh, that you actually can speak well on camera and do some voiceover work or things like that. So he shared some of his personal goals as he transitioned into adulthood, and so we're kind of playing with those things so that he can build his own portfolio as well.
What has, I feel like for both of you, this question, what has been the most challenging part when stepping into new spaces or new sports for you?
Oh, I can go. The most challenging thing, I would say is I would say it was just not knowing what's allowed and what's not allowed in certain spaces, as far as what you can take a photo of and what you can't take a photo of, and I think you have to rely on your common sense, even when working close with athletes in their personal space, like we were just talking about. Um, just kind of reminding yourself that although they might be smiling and joking with you, it's very important to be mindful of their headspace. Like for me, I don't speak to anyone unless they speak to me. And that's just because like I wouldn't want to be responsible for getting someone out of their championship Olympic mind space. For sure, I want to keep it professional at all times. If I'm in a new space, like been around a bunch of famous people, and I've always wanted to be like, I wanted to freak out around them, but you have to be professional at all times. And remember, you're here to do a job, and you can't let, who you are outside of the role that you're in take over. So, um, a little bit of that, and just, knowing the do's and don'ts of the space that you're in. And sometimes you can break some rules and get in spaces that other people maybe not have thought of, and sometimes that pays off.
And for you, Erica?
Can you repeat the question? Did you say in youth sports or sports in general?
I mean, it can be in sports in general, but like even new sports, because you mentioned like, oh, you photographed your first tithing for like,
Hmm.
for the first time.
So I approach them differently. So when it comes to youth sports, a lot of the clients that I work with, I'm around them all season. I don't take a lot of one-offs, because in that case, my answer would be the parents, but that's a whole nother story. Um, so yeah, so typically I take the team or the whole department, and so I'm with them all season. So I kind of know my boundaries and I know the kids and I, know the ins and outs. Um, but when it comes to the professional, same thing, really, that Taylor said. Um, because I've coached and I was an athlete, I'm very sensitive to their I'm gonna call it pregame routine, and I don't want to disrupt that. I want to be invisible. Most of the time, I'm dressed in all black. I'm just trying not to be seen. I usually same thing won't speak until the end of it. Um, like I don't even. I just want to catch them at their most genuine moments, and I want them to be themselves. Like I don't want to disrupt anything. So that's usually the approach. I would say the challenge is when it comes to the pros because they see so many cameras. Um, some of them will try to move away from that. But I'll say this, being a black woman that's a photographer, we don't really deal with that a lot, especially with black athletes because they are excited to see us there and they make sure that they let us know. We heard that a lot, specifically in Oregon, and they make sure that they say it online. They make sure that they DM us and tell us. Um, so we don't deal with that a whole lot, but yeah, I would say that that would be the only challenge.
No, that's one of my favorite parts of actually of the partnerships that we
Mhm.
have and when we're out there. So for those who may not know, I know Taylor and Erica very well because through our partnerships that we've cultivated in sports with Tracktown USA, with AFLOS, with World Athletics, with USATF, we do these different events throughout the year where we bring out Black women photographers to photograph these sporting events, their marquee events. And so for Tracktown USA, one of them is the pre-classic, the other is the Olympic trials, which they both mentioned here, and we saw some of their work from those moments. And what I love, love, love again about being in these spaces is like you said, Erica, like the athletes, they're always so excited to see us because
Mhm.
oftentimes they're photographed by people who do not look like us. And so for them to like go out of their way to show love, it is just so beautiful each time. And I think it's because again, you guys are mentioning things that you do to show them a whole another level of care that they're probably not used to. And that intentionality behind it, just like hearing you guys' thought process. Like, I'm sure if you were to go up and talk to Shakira, she'd be fine. She'd be like, hey, but you
Mhm.
don't. You still respect her as a human, as an athlete. And I think, and what you guys are touching on are a lot of like the unspoken rules, but things that every person once you get into these spaces, you learn very quickly about how to maintain that professionalism. And along the same lines of what you were just touching on, Erica, what strategies or things that do you use personally to maintain professional relationships and retain clients? Like, for example, you gave the example of how, yes, we brought you out there to Eugene, Oregon, but you're the one who made that connection and relationship with, Quincy's family. And so now you are like his personal photographer. So what advice do you have for those who are trying to like make the most out of the opportunities they receive to then build off of that? So it's not just a one-off.
So I have a sales background, and so that part of me um is always at the forefront, that networking part. And then because I had one-on-one time with everyone, like natural conversations happen, especially for those that are from where I'm from or where I'm living, because I'm from Gary, Indiana. My people would be mad if I don't say that. I am originally from Gary, Indiana, born and raised. Michael Jackson movie will be out in April. Um, so, so yeah, so it's just it's not like you go and say, hey, my name is Erica and I want to work with you right then. It's just genuine conversation and getting to know and actually caring um, to get those things out. And then later you can circle back around and say, hey, this is something that I want to do. Um, because I come from the sales where I have never had to um, do something for free. I always came with a price. Even at the very beginning, it might have been lower than what it was now, but it was never free. So that part of it, I always understood and knew. Um, but yeah, it's just the art of networking. Because even if it's not a job, it might be something else. Some of the other relationships that, we made out there came in handy when I did USA indoor and outdoor champs the next year. So even when it came to the credentialing and things like that, it came in handy. Um, so yeah, it's just networking.
Taylor, how about you?
Would repeat the question one more time?
Yes. When it comes to just like maintaining those professional relationships in order to like get to the next opportunity, or even to keep them coming as retaining clients? What's your approach on that? Any strategies you use?
Yeah, I always like to be a person that someone wants to work with again and again and again. And that involves me kind of just having good energy, being a good person, um, doing what's asked of me each and every time. Those things are important. I always tell people, especially people who ask me the similar questions, it's important just not to be an asshole. And excuse me for cussing, but don't be,
You're good.
someone. Don't be someone who is difficult or who makes life difficult for the person who has brought you into a new experience. You want to make sure that your attitude is in check at all times, and you don't do anything that reflects poorly on yourself or the organization or the person who brought you into the organization. Um, a lot of times with me, it's um, it's just me trying to establish a relationship where they remember my face, remember my name. I get some of the same. I guess I get hugs from a lot of these people, and and establish relationships with these people I never would have thought I'd have. But um, it's just a part of having good energy and making sure you're a good person. Um, you know, I was able to pick up another way to make money for myself by working an event for free for a friend of mine. I had to go out to Denver, pay my own way there, work an event for him. And then watching how he handled his business and other things, I was able to gather some ideas of my own, brought it back to the East Coast of the DMV, came up with a plan, and now I'm able to create income for myself every month with these fights that I do. My position within this organization has only elevated because of the networking and the experience that I gained from a friend of mine by doing some work that I didn't get paid. And in money form, but it's paid for itself 10 times over with the amount and the connections that I've been able to make for doing an event, for free, where I had to fit the bill for that. So those opportunities are there. Sometimes you're not always gonna make $1,000 or however much money you want to make when you're getting started, but it's important to keep in mind that um, there's always something bigger, especially if you're passionate about this and you dedicate your time to this, and you always keep going. But it's still it's important to maintain professionalism at all times when you are working with some of these Olympians or people that you see on TV. I mean, it's amazing the relationships we've been able to have, like Erica's mentioned, and just them seeing us at these events. It's always like, oh, really? I mean, some of the greats know who we are because of this organization, because we've been put in a place where we can thrive. And when you see somebody that looks like you behind the camera, that offers a different perspective right there. So even from my first opportunity working with you, Polly, from Prefontaine, still able to cultivate and nurture those relationships and other relationships with all these athletes that I've met from that moment. And it's still, seeing them at other events is like, hey, nice hug, and we keep it moving. So um, just be a good person at the end of the day. Don't be someone hard to work with. Bring good energy to whatever job that you show up to, and your reputation is always going to follow you. So you want to make sure that that's always top tier.
I cannot stress that enough. I want to pull a little bit on that thread of like the business aspect. You guys both mentioned finances. Obviously, there's so much we could talk about there. But how do you both approach charging your work, especially because I feel like in these non-traditional, settings, like, okay, you're following an athlete, day to day, you're doing prom, or you're doing For you, Taylor, you're working with the commanders. How do
Mhm.
you structure your pricing? Like when it's like individual shoots, actual game day, or week-long things? How do you break that down?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. So with the commanders, let's see. I'm trying to figure out how much I can talk about. Um, they're not like they're not sticklers. If I approach them with an amount that I'm looking to get paid for an event, whether it's media day or something as simple as OTAs, or we're doing training camp type stuff, um, it's an agreed price. I reach out to my boss there and I say, hey, is this okay? Is this because you wanna charge your worth, right? But you also don't want to overdo it, and I think that's very important because we can all say, I deserve $2,000 per day, but you might not get $2,000 per day, and you don't want to price yourself out. So it's important to charge also what you think you're worth, obviously, and don't make it a number that you pulled out of your behind. You want to really calculate your expenses, your equipment, your time per hour, your gas, how much this certain thing costs. So without getting into too many specifics, that's kind of how I approach it with the commanders. And with individual prices, if I'm working with an athlete, whether they want video or photo, it's the same. It's a set price. What I've been trying to do lately is get more people on retainer. Um, so I have that steady flow of income coming back into my business, excuse me, every single month. And that's just, I think it's smart that way. I mean, hey, we see all these different companies charging per month for, Netflix and Prime and Hulu and all this stuff. And I'm like, hey, we can do the same. Except we're offering more services. We're offering, like Erica, she's managing Joe's entire online presence, and that is a lot within itself. So, and I think that's a smart way to approach working with different athletes or different organizations. You guys come to an agreement, and you have at least for me, you have your set price lists. And if it goes outside of the scope of what you're offering per hour or per day or per project, you negotiate from there. What's it going to be if the time of the event or whatever runs over an hour or 2 hours, or I've got to photograph this many people. So, and you have to start thinking about what your costs actually are, not what you think they should be, what they actually are. So, this answer could turn into a long-winded one
Oh,
for
I
me.
know, but
So
I
let me
really do
just,
appreciate like I know it's a whole conversation itself, and trust me, we in another conversation with Deidre,
definitely.
who's a film photographer based in New York City. She's also a financial advisor. In my
Yes.
conversation with her, um, we were literally joking like, okay, we're gonna just do a whole finance summit, and
Please,
I
please.
promise you, we will make that happen.
Yes.
Erica, how about you? What's your approach?
Um, yeah, similar to what Taylor said, that the retainer system is actually what I do.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, that I go after people that we can, whether it's by season or whether it's for the full 12 months or whatever the case may be, it's a retainer, and then these specific services are included in that retainer. If you want X, Y, and Z additional, then that's invoiced separately. Um, and that's just what I target. So there, if you see me take a one off, um, like a prom or I think B said this, where she was like, "You won't see me do weddings, weddings and family shoots. It's weddings and family shoots for me."
Not my
No,
ministry.
Not without a
but
whole team.
it's interesting because I did a wedding recently for one of my business partners from my production company. But he said, listen, he just show up and hand me the memory card. I said, okay, I got you there. I can do that. But unless it's like, the one-offs, then that is consultation. Let me understand the assignment, how quickly you want it turned around, how many looks you got, and then boom, I'll shoot you a proposal, and then we can go from there. And so the proposal is written up, get the deposit to secure the date, and we go from there. Um, and those are usually, if I'm doing those, I'm going to have someone with me, whether I have a videographer with me or whether I have a second shooter with me, or I might actually just send somebody out in my place. Um, like I guess that's almost like an agency to a certain degree, but yeah, that's that's how I look at those things. Because what happens, I think you asked someone else about burnout. That's definitely something that I started to experience because this is my full time.
Mm.
I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I don't have something to fall on. So like every day it's that sales system of, okay, I got to make a certain amount of calls. I got to close a certain amount of deals. It's that whole process of it. And so if I try to work every single thing, then it wouldn't work. So yeah, that's how I approach it.
Were there any financial mistakes you guys made early on? And if so, what did they teach you about sustainability?
Oh Lord. Um,
Um, fin I guess this will fall under financial mistakes. I really had to learn what to put in my terms and conditions. Um,
When you're talking about your contracts?
yeah. Um, and so because of that, I would say I like early on, I lost out on a lot because I didn't have that part figured out yet. Late fees or, you know, um, it was just little things. The only thing I knew was to say that I own the images. That's as far as it went. But I didn't know anything else to put around it. And so I definitely think that caused a lot of back and forth headache, me giving people back their deposits because it's like, never mind, I just don't even want to do it.
yeah.
Type situation. That was a big trial and error, year one.
Um, for me, I will say similar to that, but I'll touch on this first. Not tracking little expenses, and I'm talking about mileage to and fro.
Mm.
That would also hit me in the butt, especially when tax season comes around, and yeah, and you don't have your books in order. Um, that's also something because I'm a single user LLC, and um, that's something that has bit me in the butt too, is maybe overpaying because I didn't track appropriately, or I didn't um, maybe I didn't categorize a personal versus a business expense. That's something also probably put that on a back burner.
Hmm.
Tax issues for creatives. That's
We
something
have
that's
done like,
another
yeah,
webinar.
we've done like
that's
one tax,
that's a
Yeah.
no, two tax conversations
yeah.
with a CPA. But definitely need to do more because it is just this ever changing. Oh my God, what is it?
Look,
Girl,
look, tax,
it's a
tax
hot
and
mess.
401k
Oh
and
yes,
Yeah.
medical
yes,
insurance too for those
yes.
entrepreneurs.
Oh God, yeah. But I mean, hey, that's something I for sure, especially when I was first getting started, I really dropped the ball on that and just not tracking expenses appropriately and having to go back and look through everything that was a business and what was personal and kind of divvy that up and make sure I'm declaring things properly.
Mhm.
And making sure that you're adding those expenses into your quotes, that
Right.
you're offering to your clients. That's something that's very important. As far as terms and conditions, I have a situation that I'm dealing with now, where I could talk about this. It's not huge. Where someone purchased an image from me and didn't read terms and conditions when they purchased the image, and they've been selling. t-shirts, sweaters, stickers, beanies, you name it,
Mm.
on images that I produced. And I have that clearly um, in the agreement that everyone agrees to when you purchase an image online. And a friend of mine who did it didn't read it. So I'm in a situation with trying to figure out the right way to go about maintaining this relationship that I have with this person, but also handling business, because at the end of the day, because that person didn't read it, that's not my fault. That's on them. So now we've got to figure out how much of the merchandise was sold, and he's got to purchase a license, right, for this work that he's used and made money off of. So that's also very important. Just honing in on reminding people when they do buy something from you to read the terms and conditions of how they can use that asset, going forward. So I would say those three things: just taxes, not tracking properly, mileage, and just terms and conditions, are some financial errors that I made, um, you know, throughout my career. So, but you gotta learn, right?
Yep.
Listen, you don't know what you don't know,
You
and I
go.
feel like that's why these kind of conversations are so important because we are gonna help others to hopefully make less mistakes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah.
just so hard. Like these are the things that we just don't talk about enough, and it's like we're so focused as creatives on the creative aspect, right? But when it comes down to,
Yes.
like you said, the business, the taxes, the dealing with those one-off scenarios that you can't, plan for necessarily, like that's just when it happens, you just learn the hard way in a sense, but at
Yeah.
least now because you truly you can't prepare for everything. You don't know everything. And it's so hard navigating, these non-traditional career paths. um, Erica, I want to turn to you for a second because a lot of the conversations today, I intentionally had centered on motherhood and balancing that and juggling that. And you are a mother of three. Um, stop it.
It just happened out of nowhere. I don't know how we got here.
I cannot. I tell my mom. I tell my mom if I do have children one day, and if I have twins, I'm dropping one
Oh,
off at your door. I'll come back in 18 years.
there you go. That's how you handle it right there.
I'm like, what? And then let alone three. Um, but for you, I want to know because like for you, did you ever have to step away, from your career? And if so, or if you didn't, but just learning from what you know now, but what advice would you have from those who may be, entering a creative career later in life, whether they're a mother or not a mother, but for anyone who's had to step away and then re-enter?
Um, okay, so no, I never had to step away. Actually, when I had my son, who he's in the middle, so he's 7. So the ages are 10, 7, and 5. Um, that's when I decided to officially start my business. So I started EC marketing and media then. And that was literally based off of um I didn't want anybody to watch him. Um, so it was like I want to stay home with them.
Mm.
And literally 2 weeks before me and my husband got married, I told him I was not returning back to work. They wanted me to take a desk job. Again, I was in sales, I was an account exec, so I was on the streets and things like that. And so I did not want to take a desk job. And so I was like, nope, this is the time to walk away and I'm gonna start my own thing officially. And he was like, absolutely not. And I was like, well, it won't take long, I promise. Like I was already a little frustrated because I felt like I was making money for somebody else and only getting a small percentage. And so I'm like, I can do this for myself and get the whole percentage. And I
Mm.
promise. And so I did. I went ahead and started it. And I always say, kids will adjust to your lifestyle. Um, so he was an easy baby. He slept through the night. He slept late into the day. And so I would literally work overnight. while he was asleep. Um, and then I would nap when he napped. And I would that was me building, I know graphic design, I did my logos, I know web design, I did my website, like all of that I was doing on my own. And then I would make my calls during that first part of the day, um, to, close deals or whatever the case may be. And so he literally was with me the entire time. I breastfed him until he was 13 months. And then my youngest daughter, she was born in 2020. With her, it was a little different. I actually did worse, where I didn't wait the whole 6 week period because Coppin State women's basketball wanted me to do their media day. And that was my first collegiate media day. And so I was only 5 weeks out and I took it. And I went and did that media day
Oh
by
my
myself.
God.
And my mom was in town and she was like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I feel fine. I'm good." And she was like, "Girl, no." So to this day, she will say, "You never let yourself heal. You need to sit down somewhere." But it was like, me and B just talked about this. She had me on her podcast, Baby Bumping Business. And so, for me, it was like, in my mind, I'm running a play. So I was in it, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't really feel any of the effects. Now I'm closer to 40 than not. And so now do I feel it? Probably. But at the same token, I still feel like that I'm running the play because now they're a little older and they're getting into their own activities. And so, we still handle that. My husband is a football coach and we make sure we get to things and we're there and they're with us, and they kind of, like I said, adjusted to us. But yeah, I never had to step away. They know what I do. Um, Now there are times like when I was at trials, like me and my husband's anniversary was when I was at trials. That's probably the one time that I got in trouble where he was like, "What are you doing?" But other than that, it's like the family kind of understands what's happening. Before I take a job, we'll talk about the date if it conflicts or whatever the case may be. I make sure that I don't take anything on their birthdays. Um, but but that's it. Yeah, no, I never had to step away. To any mom, whether it's later than life in life or early, you have to listen to your body. Everyone is different. There is no cookie cutter answer for that. Your body will tell you what you can and cannot do. It is serious, bringing life into the world. And so, yeah, you always want to make sure that you are good as the mother. I tell people that all the time. I actually have a former player that she is experiencing her first pregnancy, and when I check on her, I'm like, yeah, the baby's gonna be fine. There will be a million people checking on the baby. You like, people forget that part. It's like they don't talk about the recovery of it. They don't really talk about how long postpartum can really last. They don't talk about how it feels when people come over and be like, "Oh, where's the baby?" And you feel like, "Well, dang, hey," you know.
Mm.
So it's like those little things that they forget about the mother. So it's like, speak up, advocate for yourself. Some things you won't recognize. You didn't. It's like, this not me. But just be patient with yourself and listen to your body.
And for you, Taylor, how do you continue to grow technically and creatively while honoring, your own personal life and priorities?
Oh man, hey, I don't even have children, but it's very even someone without children, it's very important to listen to your body and take care of it, and find things that you love outside of your career. Like for me, it's music. It's something I'm very passionate about, and um, I like to experiment when I have downtime or off time from anything that I'm doing. I like to experiment with different presets, with different angles, different lenses. Getting back into the analog style of shooting a little bit more on my own time to grow that. It's just picking up things outside of Because sometimes I feel like we can make this our everything, and it's very easy to do that, especially with hustle culture. But you'll find that doing things just for yourself is just as important as doing things for your business and for your client. And that's just maybe photographing something outside of sports or something outside of high fashion or whatever you do. Taking time just for yourself. 'Cause sometimes when you're in the hustle and bustle of just getting it and just working, you're doing it for yourself, obviously, but you have certain expectations to meet. When you're working with a client. So that's what I do. I work on creating creating personal videos for myself. I go outside my house, try to capture birds. As weird as that sounds, I don't want to turn into that old lady one day, but it might happen. I don't know.
Well, I'll be
Uh,
right there with you then, girl.
no, it's it's something I enjoy now. Getting older. No, but or making little fun videos by myself. I enjoy doing that for sure. Just experimenting because that's the way I started. I started going outside and on the trails behind my house and messing with exposure, messing with shutter speed, messing with aperture, just getting out there and seeing what this button does. Because that when you break it down to that, that's the most important thing. Just being a kid again, and as much as we've all accomplished, we don't know everything. We're still learning things to this day. Even photographers who are in that top 1%, they are still learning things. So um, that's what I'm focusing on. Just finding things outside of sports, photography, finding other things I'm passionate about too, and growing those on my own time when I do have it. And taking care of yourself. Even if you aren't a mother, you can crash out too, in the worst way. So it's important to take care of your mental, your physical, and your emotional, and take breaks when you need to. Because as Erica mentioned, your body will set you down when it's time to sit down. So it's very important to take care of that part too. Um, and that's what I've been focusing on, bettering myself, so that I can be my best self when I'm showing up for a job or whatever I have to do.
So, so well said, both of you. Erica, what advice would you give to creatives trying to stand out without feeling like they have to oversaturate or overwork themselves?
I would say be true to yourself. You put out as much as you feel comfortable. It- it's art at the end of the day. So it's your way to express your view on whatever on the world. Whatever you're shooting, whatever you like Taylor said, your interests. It's your way to do that. It's funny when I first bought the camera that I have now, I was testing portraits on my kid's teddy bear and a minion. Um, and that probably was like the the most creative freedom that I felt like I had. It's the weird things that is like can bring you joy. So I would say figure out what brings you joy. What's your why? Why is this something that you want to do? If you can stay in that vein, then you'll never feel like you're working.
Taylor, do you have anything to add to that?
I'm so sorry. Repeat the first part of the question again.
No, you're totally fine. What advice would you give to other creatives who are trying to stand out without feeling like they have to oversaturate or overwork themselves?
Oh yeah, I feel like that's very big in our world these days, especially with the online apps like Instagram. It's very easy to kind of compare yourself to other people. So I would also say try to carve out your own thing. Um, Even if you see something that you like, um, maybe you can put your own spin on it. Maybe you can do something to make the image or the video that you're working on a little bit better. you know, don't be afraid also to just experiment. Maybe it hasn't been done a certain way. You don't always have to follow the rules, especially in this business. Like Erica said, this is art, so you can break rules and diversify and think outside of the box. One of my good friends, Mercedes, she does that a lot. She's one of those creators that shoots outside the box and breaks all the rules all the time. So that's one way that she stands out, um, and that's important. To have your own way, and make your own way. Just getting out there and experimenting and finding different angles. Maybe you're working with different presets that you create. Yeah, make your own preset. Just don't be afraid to just start and do something and put it out there. And you don't worry about the likes or the comments and all that stuff. Just making it for yourself is the most important thing, because before you know it, somebody's gonna catch wind of you, and they're gonna see your art, they're gonna see your work and the passion you put behind it, and you know nothing that's not for you is never gonna pass you by. So, don't be afraid to just stand out there and be creative.
And Erica, my last question for you. If someone was starting from scratch today, what do you feel are like the top three things that they should do?
Just start shooting. Just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. There is no perfect time. There is no perfect job. There is no perfect situation. Just start. Like just straight passion and just start. And then you can tweak and learn and fix from there. And I always tell people YouTube University is the best way to
Yes.
go. And now there are so many resources because you can type it right in there as you think it. How do I X, Y, and Z? Exactly how you think it, type it in there, and there will be something that pop up for it. And then, things like this, Polly, again, and give you your flowers on just even building this platform, because I think the thing that's underrated about the platform is the network. Like what Taylor tell you, like we have a group chat. We bounce stuff off each other all the time. But don't be afraid to reach out and really tap into your network. Again, we everybody don't know everything, and so if you have a question or a scenario or a situation, you know, you might pick up something from there. Um, and then always be a sponge would be my third thing. No matter how big of the job it is, you're always learning. There's always room to grow and to learn. So stay a sponge.
It's so funny because what people don't realize is when we have these events where we're bringing 4 or 5 different photographers, um, 99.9% of the time they've never met each other. And we want them to be able to work together and hopefully get along. Not saying they have to be best friends, but
Yeah.
be able to like work well with each other because there's really no time. Like every time we get to Eugene, Oregon, we are hitting the ground running. We tell them, y'all, we gotta you gotta put your stuff in the dorm room or the room or whatever we're selling shop, and then we gotta go to this meeting. We don't give them any chance, any moment to actually like
Yeah.
get situated. And hopefully they had a smooth flight. If they didn't, I'm so sorry. But what I love is that how you guys, like, to your point, Erica, is how you guys been able to stay in touch. Like this has been like 2, 3, 4 years ago, maybe, but when you guys met each other and you guys been able to build that community, be friends, have the group chats, and stay connected. And I think it's just so, so beautiful and so powerful. Like that just warms my heart so much. Like that is like the best case scenario, something that's come unexpected from this. Like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
truly, no, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and I could say that it even goes beyond just photography. I mean, we see Avi in New York. I've been to the Armory countless
Yes.
times, and it probably was the
And
last
you
time
hired Shay
Shay,
before. Yeah, you
yeah,
hired
like
Shay for
when one of
event.
my former players was getting drafted, I was like, oh, I know who I'm calling. That was a
Mhm.
no-brainer.
Yes.
Me and Taylor
Yes.
was just talking about Amanda just came in town with the Pistons, and she came
Yes.
by, and we were able to hang out. So it goes beyond that. The text of, hey, how you doing? It's just simple, the simple things. So yeah, it's definitely a sisterhood.
Oh, see
It
that?
really is.
Yeah.
Hey, if I would add, like, you don't want to see our group chat. It's a hot mess. Like, what are the kids doing? No, something like that. We cut up, and it is the best time always when I talk to these ladies. Even like Kelsey and like Mercedes and all, even them, whenever we get a chance to speak, it's always love. So, and that's just the community that BWP has built for sure. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, it's amazing. It's I feel like I'm gonna be friends with these ladies for a long, long time. So,
Yeah.
and that's
And
what's
even the
that's the good
bridge
part.
of it, because B wasn't in Oregon at the
Yes.
same time that I was, but Taylor, like to
Yeah.
me, that was the Taylor connection, or even Mercedes. We was able to get some advice from her, and then she went to UAB, right? Or
Oh,
worked for UAB, Mercedes.
yeah. Wait
Yeah.
for USA basketball.
University of Alabama, Birmingham, because she lived in
Yeah. Yeah,
Birmingham
she
for a
did.
minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
girl.
and that's
Yes.
where I graduated. That's where I played, and so it's like it was so many connections, but it's like we haven't even worked together yet. And it's some of those type of connections. So, yeah, I always say that's the part that's truly underrated, Polly. So, thank you.
No, that for me has always just been like the best case scenario. We don't force it. We just let it happen organically, and it has, and it's so beautiful to witness and blossom because I feel like for so many creatives, like we've done the work individually, and it's such an individual like job, but we need community. We need each other. It takes a village. I mean, this is why, part of the reason why I started the community because I wanted to know other Black women photographers and I wanted to lean on them. And I wanted to, get inspired by them. And so it's just been so beautiful to witness that in your guys's relationships with other photographers who've been hired on for these events. I'm so sorry. I know we're at time, but my last question.
Oh, you got your time
Looking
has
at your
flown by.
guys' work and your journey so far, what is one lesson about storytelling, creativity, or capturing athletes that you hope everyone here takes with them into their own work?
For storytelling, sometimes in the past, like, I will focus on trying to force the moment, trying to make something happen. And when you're doing sports, if you're in a call room or something like that, you can't force anything. You kind of just have to sit and wait for something to happen, or wait for a moment of vulnerability from these athletes. And even when you're out there on the main stage capturing the action, just being in the right place at the right time changes everything, because that's what it's about. We all have the same technical abilities. Maybe someone focuses on the creative side more than the technical side, or vice versa. It's about being ready at that moment, having the right settings, having the right lens, being wide or being close. It doesn't matter. You just being in the moment, and paying attention to the surroundings, and just sitting there and just being prepared when it comes, because it's going to come quick
Mhm.
in sports photography. Let me tell you, um, and you got to be ready. And it's just that simple.
Erica, what about you?
Yeah, I would say authenticity. Just be authentic. Be authentic to yourself and how, you see the story unfolding, and then also be authentic to the athlete and their journey and their story. Um I know we're in the age of AI, but we like realness.
Yes.
My mom always be like, I don't want to see no robot.
Definitely.
Oh my goodness, you guys, I could talk to y'all forever, but again, I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. I can't think of anybody else who I would want to end the first inaugural Black Women Creatives and Sports Summit with than you two. So thank
Crazy.
you both so much. This has been such a joy. If you guys aren't already, do follow their work. They're doing incredible things in their own respective lanes. Is there anything you guys would like to say before we go?
Yeah, I do have one thing, and it's
Yeah.
interesting even when you said follow. So my Instagram is EC Marketing and Media, and one thing that happened in between pre-classic and trials, I spoke with someone from Nike, just on some let me pick your brain type stuff. And you probably don't even know this. So that was my first time because I was so business and sales driven that I always hid behind a brand. So that was my first time stepping from behind the brand and shooting as myself. And so that's when I changed my website and a
Really?
new logo and I put my name there first. And so, that's something that I would share and say, you know, be yourself. Like I know we're in the age of branding, but brand yourself. And I don't do a good job of that on social because I'm always logged into everybody else's brand. But but still, put your name out there first.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
so funny. Taylor, have it for you. Is there
Yeah, I'm
anything?
gonna piggyback off of that. This is something I just always tell people, just not being afraid to shoot your shot. And I'm gonna keep saying that, for as long as I can. Not being afraid to ask for what you want and to go after what you want. If you want to work with Nike one day or some of these large brands, does your portfolio reflect that now? If not, how can you make it so? Study other photographers' work, do your research, YouTube University for sure, but also, do your reading, going out and experimenting. Um, you know, have your portfolio look like what you want to be hired for, especially if you want to work with larger brands. Um, and something as simple for me, how I got on with Commanders, one of the head photographers found my Instagram one day just randomly, and she saw some work that I had done in the off season with some of the Commanders football players. And we followed each other. We established a good connection, and when a position was open on her team, she offered it to me. But would I have had that opportunity if my portfolio didn't show any type of football people? Maybe, maybe not. But it's important to stick your neck out there, almost basically stick your neck out there and try different things and get out there and get in these people's DMs and emails, and you might get rejected 20 times, but you might not. It's a chance that you always have to take. So bet on yourself 10 times each time and you'll be successful. That's what I wanted to end with.
Mm. Thank you again. I mean, there's so much to take away from each conversation. And like I was telling you guys before this, like, yes, I'm tired, but like, yes, you guys also fill my cup. You guys really just always pour into my cup. Like, I took off work to do this because I just felt it was so important and so necessary for us to hold space and have these honest conversations beyond what we see on social media, because there's so much that you don't see. And I just love
Mm,
that, like, you guys have been able to touch on every aspect, whether it's the technical to the wellness aspect of it all, because as a creative, we can't create if we're not okay ourselves. We
Yeah.
can't,
Yeah.
we, like you said, your body will slow you down if you don't take a second to pause. And so just the honesty and the candidness you guys have both shared in this conversation, and all the speakers throughout these past 3 days, I'm just so thankful and so excited about what's to come for both of y'all. And we both live in the same area. Like,
I know, right?
This never happens. Like the other speakers who are based in like France and Germany, I'm like, one day I'll meet you in real life. And I know y'all in real life, and we need to actually hang out more.
We do.
Girl, you too big for us now, Polly. We can't get an appointment now.
No. I'm just too tired.
Put us on your book, girl. Put us on your book,
Pencil,
please.
let's see it.
I'm gonna replay all these conversations and then take notes. And I'm like, oh yeah, I gotta take this advice. I gotta apply this advice. But no, in all seriousness, I'm so thankful for you guys and how you pour into each other and continue that like ripple effect and how you lift each other up. And it's just so beautiful to witness. So thank you for closing out this summit with me. Thank you guys.
Thank you for having us.
I cannot wait to see y'all on the track, on the field, maybe soon.
Yeah.
I've never been to a Commanders game, Taylor, so I'm gonna be one of those annoying people and be like, "Can I get tickets?"
But did you come? Do you get to come with Wes?
So he goes to the Ravens games. Well, maybe he's gone to Commanders games too, but I've only covered him at a Ravens game, which was my first Ravens game, which was so cool. But yeah, I want to experience all things. You know, we'll talk offline. But thank you both so much.
Thank you so much.
This has been wonderful. I will see you guys soon.
See ya. Thank
you. Bye.